retired a couple of years ago after a kind of checkerboard corporate life of writing a lot of things for technical reports, marketing reports, professional papers earlier in my career. And I decided to go back to what I had really majored in college, which was writing, but writing for my own pleasure. So lately I've been just toying with memoirs, writing down simple things as they come to me. And this particular piece was inspired by my sister passed away a couple of years ago, and I became the last caretaker in my family of various artifacts of the family. It's titled The Bowl. The heavy stoneware vessel that for years sat reverently atop the highest shelf in my sister's kitchen, on display but never used, now sits nestled in my kitchen, alongside my mother's set of colored Pyrex bowls. The glaze is dull, and there are hairline cracks if you look closely. The blue stripe around the thick squared lip has faded against the buff brown and yellow body. Holding this humble, well-worn bowl, I caress the curves that my Grandma Dora's hands cut as she beat her wooden spoon against its inner wall every day for many years. I can see the pale yellow tiled kitchen where she worked, sunlight streaming in on the table, illuminating the day's delights. I am once again 3 years old, perched on the top step of the folding step stool so that I can see over the edge of the table as I watch her work her magic. Aproned and up to her elbows in flour, she chatters away to me in her imperfect English with a heavy Yiddish accent. I don't recall anything specific she says. I just recall the delight in being with her, basking in her love and tenderness. And the food. Oh, the food. For most of my childhood, I took it for granted that everyone's grandmother worked similar magic in the kitchen. Not only did I come to learn that this was not true, I learned several years ago that my grandmother's kitchen goodies were an integral part of my grandfather's milk and eggs business. That is, until the health department stepped in. Grandma Dora and Grandpa Bernie, she always called them Baruch, owned a triple-decker house in Newark, New Jersey, where they occupied the first floor, and my Aunt Margie and Uncle Izzy and 3 of my cousins lived on the second floor. A series of unrelated families rotated in and out of the 3rd floor. My parents would frequently send me to stay there for as little as a weekend, up to a week or 2 at a time. My family moved out of Newark just before my 5th birthday to the Sticks, as my cousins referred to the newly developed suburb of Livingston. I love the contrast of city living to suburban life. You could easily talk to neighbors out your window across the small alley that separated the houses. And just doors away at the end of the block was a candy store where, if I was good, I'd be given a dime and allowed to walk down to buy my favorite ice cream cone all by myself. As much as I loved both my grandparents, my grandfather sometimes scared me. He was deaf in one ear and did not believe in hearing aids, so every time he tried to make conversation, he shouted. He had a full set of dentures that never fit properly. Sometimes they clacked noisily and slid around in his mouth as he ate. Other times he simply pulled them out and put them on the kitchen table to gum his meal. But he was also a gentle, pious man who spent every Saturday and High Holy Day at the shul in the street, serving as cantor to a small Orthodox congregation. His gentle nature would come through as he carefully showed me how he handled every egg he delivered to make sure it did not accidentally contain an embryonic chicken. Or as he tucked me in at night with a soft lullaby that always ended with, nighty-night, goody-goody. At least once a month, our entire family, aunts, uncles, cousins, gathered for a multi-course feast that my grandmother proudly labored to produce. We always started with soup. 3 seasons a year, it was chicken soup with matzo balls, switching to cold borscht with boiled potatoes and sour cream in the summer heat. The main course might be chicken or brisket, or for special occasions, stuffed breast and veal. My favorite accompaniment for that was kishka, Talent has been stuffed with a heavy mixture of grains, onions, and seasonings, and roasted alongside the meat until the stuffing soaked up the meat juices and fat and the skin was deep brown and crunchy. No commercial version of kishka I ever tasted measured up to my grandma's. Her stuffing had a weight and cohesiveness that was unique. Of all the wonderful things my grandmother made, my favorites were her pastries. She never walked through the door to our house without a grocery bag half the size of her compact 4'11" body, filled with homemade apple strudel, rugler, or blintzes to put in the freezer for when the fresh batches she also made ran out. She made her own dough for everything, including the flaky multiple layers for her strudel, which she stretched out on towels spread the entire length of the huge kitchen table. I would eat strudel layer by layer, peeling back the crisp outer flakes of dough crusted with butter, sugar, and cinnamon to reveal the inner layers where the ingredients melted with the dough into a single sweet, gooey mush. I was always more interested in eating whatever Grandma made than I was in recreating it. I once asked her the recipe for something, but gave up when her measurements consisted of a diesel of this and some of that. But I did observe, and occasionally she would drop a casual instruction into the conversation. For instance, I know her chicken soup required whole, unpeeled yellow onions and chicken feet, and that the pot should stand on the stove overnight to extract the most out of every ingredient. The way she described my favorite breakfast revealed the proper proportions of the ingredients. Lox mit onions mit eggs. Occasionally, the cultural gap between my old world Russian-born grandparents and me would create a clash. One night, as I sat down for dinner, my grandmother placed before me a plate containing something very strange looking, white, blobby, and gelatinous. Skeptically, I asked what it was. My grandmother folded her arms across her ample bosom and sternly ordered, "Eat first, then I'll tell you." I was not having that. We argued back and forth a bit until I ran upstairs to my cousin's, where my aunt happily let me have a bowl of cereal for supper. Now as I hold this ancient yellowware bowl, a lifetime of memories of food, hugs that felt like being enveloped in a down pillow, and unconditional love fill my heart. I will pass this bowl down to my younger daughter, who inherited her great-grandmother's baking talent. I just hope she can feel the magic it contains.
Thank you, Robin. Joe.
Joe, take a minute and tell people who you are and why you're writing.
Oh, Joe.
And we're going to adjust the sound, make it a little louder.
Got